Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates. With your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's show where I'll chat with Jonah as we compare notes as autism parents. He'll talk about his son Daniel and about how he became a stay-at-home dad after being an attorney, and then they decided to open up a bookstore as a place of employment for their son and others with autism. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or something cold to drink and join in with us in our conversation. Hi everybody, this is Cindy, Robbie's mom, and today we are welcoming our first dad onto the show. Hi Jonah. So Jonah lives in Maplewood, you can see behind him, and he owns a bookstore, but there we go. But we'll get to that later. So welcome to the show. And Jonah, you have a son with autism, correct?
Yes, we have two kids. Our daughter is 30, and we have a son with autism who's 25, Daniel.
Okay, and where would you say he is on the spectrum? They're using levels now, 1, 2, and 3. They didn't have that when my son was
I'm not
little.
even aware of that. That's a new one in terms of the numbering. He's either 2 or 3. I'd probably call him a 3. My wife, who's a glass half full person, would probably say he's a 2, but we'd have to see the levels.
Well, can he speak?
Yes.
He does. Okay, and where is he cognitively? Does he understands everything that you're saying, or?
Yeah, he actually does more than we thought. He did a couple of things lately that have really been blowing me away, that show me that he's paying attention even when we're not talking to him about some topics.
Yeah.
Usually just expresses wants and needs, very elementary in terms of his
right.
in terms of his language. It was sort of I don't know if funny is the right word, but when he was about 16 or 17, we had him tested in connection with the Simon Simplex thing, and they came back and they were very worried. This was doing some genetic research, et cetera, but they were very worried about telling us this. And they said, your son's on the cognitive level of about a 6-year-old, and they were afraid we'd be upset or angry. And my wife and I started high-fiving each other because that was a big jump from
what you thought
the 5 years before we tested him or something like that.
Yeah.
So that gives you some idea of his function level.
Okay. All right. Good. Does he read and write?
No, it doesn't. Well, writes, he signs his name. He can write words.
Like, will he use like an iPad?
Yes, but not to read and write. He watches YouTube. He loves YouTube baking videos.
Baking?
Yes.
Oh.
Desserts, but he loves desserts.
Yeah.
He loves watching them make desserts. So it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. So, but can he read a book or no? If he's like a 6-year-old, can he read like a children's book?
Yeah, the problem is he can read it, but it's hard to tell whether he's getting the content or has much interest in the storyline. He can read words.
Yes. Yeah, but you don't know if he necessarily understands what the story's about.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so let's back up all the way to the beginning. Obviously, your wife was the one that was pregnant with him, not you. And how was the pregnancy? Were there any kind of red flags or anything?
Yeah, so she had a basically normal pregnancy, except that she had exposure to something called Fifth's disease, and there were concerns that there could be developmental problems for him.
Yeah, what is that? I forget. I know I've heard of Fifth's disease. I don't remember.
It's 25 years, and I forget, but
it's something that little kids have, isn't it?
Yeah, one of my daughter's friends had it.
Right. Yeah, they like pick it up at daycare or something.
My wife tested it. My daughter was 5 at the time, and my wife tested positive for it.
Oh.
And then they did substantial testing, which suggested it had not been transferred to the fetus, so we were clear. But first of all, I'm not 100% convinced that that's accurate. I'm not convinced it's not accurate. It's just who the heck knows.
Right.
But second of all, as my wife likes to mention sometimes, it did kind of prepare us. We kind of had a discussion or two about, oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
What if
that happens? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
what did they tell you the risk could have been to the baby?
Just mental, intellectual disability.
Oh, really?
Again, I don't remember the fine points because frankly, and again, particularly once we were cleared, we didn't go in a complete freak out mode about it or super concerned.
Yeah.
But they did talk about the possibility of there being an intellectual disability.
Yeah, because for me, well, once you start suspecting that there's something wrong and they start asking you a million questions, right? And then I remember thinking, I think I took aspirin once while I was pregnant. I don't know. You start freaking out. It's like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? And my twin girls were like 4.5 when I was pregnant with Robbie. I think your daughter's probably about the same age, right?
Yep.
And they had gotten the chicken pox. So I thought, oh, maybe that's why, because they were laying in bed with me sick, and I didn't know I was pregnant yet, and I found out like a week later that I was pregnant. And meanwhile, I was exposed to the chicken pox, you don't know. It could be anything. You never know. Okay. So, and then how about the delivery? That went okay?
Went great. Better than with our daughter.
Okay. So, and then how about the development?
Yeah. So at about 18 months, I mean, we everyone kept telling us we had a boy's boy and a girl's girl. Our daughter was both very talkative and kind of on the clingy side.
Yes.
Extremely attached to her mother.
Yeah.
And our son was not like that at all. And in fact, I was very proud of his independence because he'd be running around.
Yes.
But we, by himself and didn't require constant attention.
Yes.
So we were told that. Plus, we were busy with 2 careers and flying all over the world, both of us with our jobs, and we didn't seem to think, that anything serious was wrong.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing. I said, wow, boys are really stubborn. Like he just did, he ignored me. I called his name. He wouldn't pay attention. I was like, geez, boys are very different than girls.
Yeah, and that's where we're told. And I got to tell you, we've looked back, and this is kind of painful for Ellen and me, but we've looked back on videos, even though we consider ourselves kind of expert. I mean, obviously not medical experts or scientific experts, but kind of lay experts in autism. We don't really see signs in the first year and a half of him having a problem of any kind. He seems like a typical kid to us.
I think most parents tend to say the same kind of thing. They don't really, it's like that. It's around that 18-month mark, that the 2-year mark that they see it. You never know.
And even then it was quite slow in terms of, we knew we had some problems. We didn't think they were that serious. We thought he'd outgrow them. Everyone said that.
Yeah. What about, did he crawl on time and walk on time? Was that stuff all on target?
Yeah, that's interesting. Honestly, I think he did not do the crawling the right way. And we actually went to an expert who's really into crawling, about 15, 20 years ago, about that being an integral part of the development.
Yeah.
And he thought that he missed certain stages of crawling once we explained it to him. At the time, again, we just were hyper concerned about it. He was not missing
Yeah.
And I don't know what to tell parents, particularly moms, about this. On one hand, you shouldn't be hyper vigilant and concerned, but on the other hand, in retrospect, I wish I'd paid more attention to the milestones than I did.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one.
And what was the pediatrician saying? Nothing?
Nothing. Yeah. And then what happened was we got ready for the third, for his third birthday. What happened was Dr. Jennifer Shaw, who's a great neurodevelopmental pediatrician, had kind of subbed in for our pediatrician.
Oh.
During for a certain illness.
Yeah.
And it said, when you and said, you better have him checked out. When you get him evaluated, you may hear the word autism.
Wow.
And we were pretty blown away. And that was, his birthday was November. So we got his third evaluation, in mid-November. And to my shock, Ellen, my wife Ellen, who just an amazing person, talked to a couple of parents, not even the autism community, but found out who the leading expert was. And within 3 weeks, even though there was a 2-year waiting list to see this person, came in and diagnosed 3 weeks later.
Wow. Yeah. So it wasn't even on your radar, really. I mean, was he talking at 3 years old?
A little bit. I mean, we knew he was delayed at that point.
Yeah.
But we didn't know at all. I knew nothing about autism. It was a different time. It was 20 years ago. Other than Rain Man, I don't know that I barely heard of autism.
Exactly. You know what? I knew of it. I used to watch St. Elsewhere in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the one doctor had a son that had autism. And
Oh,
I remember the episodes. I remember he would climb up on a table and he would stare at the light. And then another time he climbed out the window and he was sitting out on the roof, like they were looking all over for him, and they found him out on the roof. And
I gotta check
I
it
think
out.
he talked, but he just seemed to always just sort of be distant, like not looking at anybody, you know. And I so when I got the diagnosis of autism for Robbie, I thought of that show right away because he was born in '89, so it had only been a couple of years. And I said, no, he's nothing like that kid on that show. He's not autistic. You don't know what you're talking about. That whole they're in their own little world, like that didn't make. I said Robbie is not in his own little world. He knows exactly what's going on because it, like if you came out of the bathroom and you didn't shut the door, he'd come out of the room, go over and slam the door, like, how dare you
Yeah,
not shut
got
that
it.
door, and walk away. And I'm like, how did he even know? You know, but he's paying attention.
So what interested me, and maybe he was out of the corner of his eye, what disturbed me with the early signs was that, kids would be playing on the playground,
Mhm.
and it was fine that Dan didn't join in.
Right.
But some kids are shy, or they're not interested, or they don't want to, or they don't know how to socialize with people. That didn't bother me. But what bothered me was that he didn't seem to have any interest in the kids playing on the playground. And again, I contrasted that with their daughter, who was kind of like, even if she was nervous or tentative about joining in, was watching like a hawk at what other kids were doing.
Right.
Didn't seem to care at all about what other kids were doing.
No.
That disturbed me.
Yeah, you know what Robbie would do? He would find the puddle underneath the slide and he'd go play in the water in the puddle. Like he wasn't interested in the playground or the kids, only the water.
There you go.
Yeah. So he wasn't speaking very little. So did you see any other kind of behaviors besides that? Like was he doing any kind of stimming?
Hand flap, yeah, he was doing the hand flapping. I mean, a lot of the standard stuff that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
He ran around in circles a lot. I used to come home from business trips and he would run circles around me, literally. I'd stand there and he'd start running circles around me.
Yeah.
He would run into bashing off walls. But again, we kind of thought, oh, that's just what boys do. They run to walls.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is true, but it was more pronounced.
Yeah. All right. So then what did you do? Did you put him in a school somewhere at 3 years old?
Oh gosh, yeah. This is a long story. I'm trying to think how I can abbreviate it, but we put him in. We did a placement special integrated school from ages like 3 to 6 or so, and I think that was very helpful, even though we quickly fell way behind. And then we put him in special needs schools, and he was in 1 or 2, and then eventually he ended up in what used to be called TCI, and it's now Spectrum 360, and that's been fantastic for him, and he's been there for about.
Where is that? What town is that in?
It's in it's in the lower schools in Verona, and the upper school is in Livingston, and the adult programs in Livingston.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we had looked at a school in Livingston. He didn't like it though. That one wasn't for him, but I don't know. I don't know if it was that school.
It could have been. I mean, these things change,
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, good. So he's 26 now, you said?
25.
25? So what is he doing now? What did he do after he turned 21?
He went into the adult program. We looked at about 10 different adult programs and decided to stay at what's called Independence 360, the adult program of Spectrum 360.
Got it.
Here during the day. And he also works part-time at the bookstore, though not that much, just a couple of hours a week. So we formed the bookstore because we had so much trouble with the schools and getting him into a school. And we'd heard it was much worse in the adult world. Yeah. So we decided we needed to do something about it. I'd actually quit my job. I was a stay-at-home, so I'm very comfortable in being a mom's only forum because I became a stay-at-home father after he was diagnosed and was a stay-at-home dad for 6 years and was doing not just all of that, but all the PTA stuff with my daughter. So I'm very comfortable and used to being the only dad.
Got it.
In the groups, both the autism groups and the regular ones. So I was a stay-at-home dad for 6 years. Once we finally had the school situation stabilized, I went. I was going to go back to work, but I didn't know if I really could do that. So my wife suggested that I go to business school, and so I went back full time to business school. And the beauty of that was, if there was an emergency, I could just leave class.
Yeah.
I actually had teaching job offers. I'd been a lawyer. I had law teaching job offers, but if you're a teacher, you can't just storm out. But
Right.
if you're a student, you can or miss classes. So I went and did that. And after that, we wanted to do something in the autism space. And Ellen felt very strongly that we needed working on vocational training. And we were thinking about opening up a vocational training center or something like this when the bookstore closed in our town. And Ellen saw it and came home and said, the bookstore, there was notice saying bookstore closing in 2 months. And Ellen said, we should buy the store and you should run it and we should train people at the store. And that's what we've done.
Train people with autism, you mean?
Train people with autism, sorry. Yeah, for vocational.
Oh, okay.
And that's, we've served our community. It seems like a normal bookstore to people. People in the industry walk in and it seems like a typical bookstore with typical customers and typical everything.
Mhm.
And then they get to the special needs section. It's an entire bookcase, which is probably about 10 times more than the average bookstore. And they're like, something weird's going on in this bookstore.
Special.
Yeah. And so, because I think we have the biggest collection of special needs books of any bookstore in the country that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Do you sell books online at all?
Yes, well, especially now with the pandemic, we've always been selling online, but the good news is our online sales are up about 3,000%. The bad news is that we're closed. And we're still closed even now.
But that's good. You have to move with the times, otherwise you're going to go out of business. So
the only problem also is
adapt.
that our vocational program right now, we're not doing it. We don't have any, we're not open.
Are so it's Spectrum 360? Is that where the kids come from that you help
Not
train
only
or no?
a lot, we get they're a big feeder of kids for us, but we also get them from we do a lot with Allegro and with other schools and with local public schools and Maple Public Schools, Milburn Public Schools, the Friendship Circle, Lifetown. We have a second store opened up in Lifetown. I don't know if you know about Lifetown, Livingston.
Oh, in Livingston, yes, I know of it, but our viewers don't. So go explain it.
Well, Lifetown's an incredible thing. Our son's been involved in the Friendship Circle for years and years. It's a organization that pairs typical kids with special needs kids. And also does all kinds of different programming. And they opened up a 43,000 square foot center. I've been working on that for about 8-10 years in Livingston. And they have a village, Lifetown Village, which are a bunch of shops where people, particularly from schools, can come and kids can practice with their IPs and practice skills, practice paying, practice picking things out, practice shopping, etc. And we're one of the shops in Lifetown.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Oh, so you have a bookstore in there?
Yep, little bookstore in there.
Oh, cute. Yeah, so Robbie went to the Morris Union Jointure. That was his school in Warren. And and the school looks like that. It looks like shops.
Yes,
they have a paint store and all these little stores in there. That's very cute. So tell me a little bit about in the bookstore, like what are they learning? What kind of skills are they learning when they're there?
In the main bookstore, in the
in the main bookstore.
Yeah, so it really depends a lot on the functioning levels.
Mm-hmm.
We really kind of specialize in the lower functioning levels.
Mm-hmm.
So that, for example, when you buy your book, you get a bag. Most bookstores would have their name embossed on the bag. We instead have stickers, and you can put the stickers on the bags.
Got it.
Done intentionally to try to create a very
simple task for them to do. Sure.
So we have work doing that. We have tons of recycling because we sell well over $1 million worth of books a year, so we get lots of books in and every day shipments, and we need to be down and putting out the recycling. We have labeling of the books. When they come in, we label where to put them. Mm-hmm. And we label non-book items as well that we sell. And we have, and then the more advanced people work a little bit on computer system, checking people in. We've occasionally had people who can help customers, so that's unusual. We've had people with higher functioning with driver's license who do our school. We deliver to local schools. And have people do that and pick up books for us and do stuff like that. So there's a wide range. We started out, we had coffee at one point. We had people making coffee, but that turned out to be a problem.
Oh, did it?
No, apparently, I mean, that's it's a problem with Trenton.
Yes. Yeah.
People, it didn't fit into
Yeah, I know, into the frame of,
some framework of
then
things.
it becomes a restaurant or
Yeah,
whatever.
or something. I don't know what or it was not appropriate for school because some of them was school age job training. So we discontinued coffee.
Okay.
We've done all kinds of different things.
So what about, do you have people over 21 that come and work there?
Oh yeah.
too? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean, particularly like my son there, we they do stocking the shelves and all the other tasks.
I mean, a lot of the kids are very OCD, so I would think that stocking shelves is always is a rewarding thing for them, something that they would enjoy,
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, and it saddens me to say this, sometimes I worry, gee, are these translating into full-time jobs or real jobs? But for a lot of these people, you and I may take this for granted, but a lot of parents are either frightened or unable to take their kids out into the community, even the older ones, and they stay at home. And this, at least, if nothing else, provides them with an opportunity to be out and part of the community.
Yeah, and they don't have to be embarrassed,
That's true.
if their kid has a behavior or whatever. It's like perfectly understandable when they.
I love it. I always say that's my favorite part. When I'm in the store, I'm in my office. I'm not on the sales floor. I'm not dealing with the customers, but I hear the telltale signs that one of our folks is in the store, and I get a huge smile on my face, and it's like the fireman in the fire pole. I come running down from my office, and I'm, to greet the family or the individual.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I was in ShopRite like a week or two ago, and I heard the woo woo woo, like I heard going through, and I'm like, oh, there's a Robbie there. Where'd he go?
Yep, exactly.
And I smile, and I.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. Yep.
Yeah, and actually, we had a really nice experience too when I was there. There was a group in front of me. I think there was an aide, and they probably are in a day program. There was about 3 young adults with special needs, and the manager came out to see them, and he was so happy to see them. Like, he came out to greet them, and I think he had worked or volunteered with them or something. And I was just so happy to see that, like, somebody running the store, so happy to see them. And
which ShopRite was it? Or?
In Chatham.
Nice, because we have a ShopRite in Lifetown.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of the people at ShopRite have been really great there.
Yeah. I forget. I don't remember what the conversation was, but he knew one of the kids used to work there or something. I don't remember. Right. I don't remember what it was, but
yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so it was really nice. Do you know about Ceriso's Kitchen, the restaurant in Chatham?
I've heard of it, but I haven't had a chance.
I want to try to interview them as well. They opened a restaurant because their son I think he has Down syndrome, and I don't know if he also has autism. I'm not sure, but he goes to ECLC, and they did it so he'd have employment after 21, but they're closed on Mondays, and the students from ECLC come there and do job training at the restaurant. So it's sort of same mission,
It's great.
Yeah, which is great. So, and I really love interviewing parents and seeing what they're doing, like so far everybody's starting foundations, starting businesses. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I've been involved with a lot of groups in policy making the national level.
Oh, really? Like for what?
Well, so there's a group called Extraordinary Ventures in North Carolina. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're fantastic. And they teamed up with Autism Speaks about 8 years ago to do kind of a national search for the best autism businesses. And we were one of about 10 that they picked. Mm-hmm. And then we had a national conference in Chapel Hill, and I got to see all these other businesses and interact with the owners and get to see the ideas. And
what other kind of businesses? I'm curious, because I've heard quite a few that do coffee shops.
Well, there's big car wash business in Florida.
Oh.
There's computer businesses in Chicago. The movie kind of business, which we're actually doing now at Spectrum 360, but out in California. I'm trying to remember. But there's a diversity, plus coffee shops, bakeries, things like that. Yeah.
I'm going to be doing a book signing event in town where this lady has a craft store in New Providence, and I think there's 2 young guys in their 20s that have autism, and they make soaps and lotions. And the mom started that business for them, and they sell them out of her store. And they're going to come. I'm going to do the book signing, and they're going to sell their soaps and lotions there too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of friends of mine started a candle making business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think she's expanding too because they're doing well. They need more space now, and hopefully they're gonna
The one that you're talking about, or the one that I'm
the one that I'm talking about that makes the
great.
soaps.
Great. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Kendall people are expanding too. So I'm
Oh, are
glad
they?
it's going well.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so good.
yeah.
Yeah. So if they're selling things, then that means people are supporting them.
Great.
Which is great. Yeah, which is terrific. How do you think the customers that come into your store, how do they react to?
Very well. We haven't had a problem that I can recall in 12 years. They're very happy. Again, we don't push. There are different schools of thought, and I'm not critical of the other school of thought, but we don't really put up a huge sign that says, I mean, we do an Autism Awareness Month. We put out a lot of things, but we don't say,
You're not hanging the autism banner out on the front of the store.
to say, shop from us, support autism. We're trying to be a regular, because what our real goal is to try to encourage other non-parent businesses to hire people with special needs. And if we turn it into a cause-driven, mission-driven message to all the customers, we're concerned that we're not getting the word out that everybody ought to hire people with autism.
Right. So if they're coming from school, then they probably have somebody with them, some type of a teacher
or
adult,
or adult. I mean, we have a lot from adult programs, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they're not just showing up independently. I mean, I'm sure some of them have.
Yes, we've had everything. You name it, we've had it. We've had parents. We've had people come by themselves. We've had people. We find people who come with skilled job coaches are the ones who get the most out of it.
There you go. Yeah, job. Yeah. And the job coaches, where do you get a job coach from?
Well, the adult programs provide them.
They have them, right? Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that parents that have like younger kids with autism, I always try to, when people say, oh, well, we called and got ABA. And I said, well, but who did you call? How did you know who to call? I try to give them as much information as they can. So,
well, there are different agencies that can help people and agencies that do provide.
Okay. So what else is going on in the autism community that you know about that you can talk to me about that I don't know? I've been so out of the loop, honestly. I mean, Robbie went to school and then he got into his day program. And then I was like, good, you're happy, have fun.
Which program's in?
Hope Autism Solutions.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we looked at them.
So he was in a program, I don't want to say the name.
Yeah, it's okay.
In Springfield, and they just thought that he and all his peers were not capable of doing anything. And he just sat at a table and sorted chips all day long, all day, every day. And he was bored out of his mind, and they never took them out. They never went on trips. They never did anything. And I said, don't he in school, they used to bring him to the post office, go to the grocery store, go swimming, do all this stuff. And I said, don't you take them anywhere? And they said, no, we don't think that they're capable. I said, of course they're capable. That's silly. So anyway, I found the Hope Autism Solutions, and it had just opened. And I quickly got him in there, and then he was.
They in Basking Ridge, or am I getting?
Yeah,
I saw them. I like them. They're nice. They have different group levels. That's where it got a little. You have to be in the right group.
Oh, see, I don't know. He was in the original, the original 8 or 12, however many it was. He was like they had one opening left, and I got him in real quick, and then they expanded after that. So I don't know. So yeah, I'd be happy to see my books sitting in your special needs department. That would be great.
Sure, happy to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add to our interview, or no?
Oh, I think that's great. I just really,
Anything you want people to know about?
Yeah, I guess I'd say really general advice that we were told, that it's a marathon, not a sprint, or it's a marathon and a sprint. I would say for particularly parents or moms of younger kids, we had been told, and I'm sure you were, that we had basically until our child was 5 to either, quote, fix the problem or live with it forever. And that really.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah. They said if they're not talking by the time they're 5, they're not going to talk. And
and so his 5th birthday was one of the toughest days of our lives. And, that's really not true. And that being said, it is still a sprint in that early intervention is very helpful, and I recommend everybody do it. But, it's important to be psychologically prepared for a long haul.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And just try to make progress every day. One of the best pieces of advice I got again, was, right after his diagnosis, we asked, well, gee, will he ever be able to grow up, go to college, get married, etc.? And the doctor said to us, sorry to say, I don't know, but here's the answer. Right now, he is on developmental stage 32. To get to that, he has to be in developmental stage 100. I have no idea if he can make it from 32 to 100, but I have tremendous confidence that he can make it to 33. And that's what you need to spend all your time and energy focusing on, getting him from 32 to 33. I think about that often, and we're always just trying to push things forward a little bit, and that's really my
yeah and they may drop from 32 down to 30, and then come back up. Like you just don't, you have to take one day at a time, I think.
Right.
It's like, hey, we got through today and tomorrow's another day. And I think parents of little ones shouldn't worry about, are they going to get married and go to college? Like, just take one day at a time.
Yeah. Well, I think it's normal, to do it and then to have that anxiety. It's just because you have certain expectations.
Mm-hmm. Each child is different, whether they have autism or they're neurotypical or whatever. Every kid is different. You don't know if your typical child is going to go to college and get married someday. You just don't know. You can't plan your future for your kid. They're going to do what they're going to do.
That's absolutely true.
I think if you can look at it that way, then you kind of relieve some stress off of yourself. All you can do is just love your kid. I
totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great speaking with you, and I hope we'll get to meet in person sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye. And everyone can look us up online at, wordsbookstore.com.
Yes, thank you. That was
us in Maplewood. That would be great.
Yeah, wordsbookstore.com.
Correct.
Okay, fabulous. I'll write that in the bottom. Okay, thanks, Jonah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.